I feel like we should have a little conversation with everybody about bringing in money right now. That's what I feel called to talk about. So, if here's the thing, if you're not experiencing, and we talked about this yesterday with one of our girls who had her Voxer day yesterday, but if you're not experiencing a tremendous amount of abundance in your life in this moment, there is a good reason for it, a really good reason for it. And it's the same thing with anything. Like if you're not experiencing the most incredible relationship in your life, if you're not experiencing great sex in your life, if you're not, there's always a really good reason. And that reason is the following. If there is anything about what you're saying you want that you perceive as creating the opposite of joy, is creating pain, you won't allow that into your experience. And so the more that we actually look at this, it's really, really, really in the blind spot. It's really in the blind spot. But essentially, every single day, your mind is an artifact. Your mind is a record of everything you've thought and everything you've experienced. And what it does is it creates a cage. It creates a trap. It creates a limit. It creates a perimeter. It creates a place that you stay operating from. It's a level of mind. It's a signature. It's a certain continuum of all that's on the buffet. And you will just live within that level of mind and you will operate there. And what's usually there is some version of, if this comes into my life, there's a cost. And so yesterday we were talking with one of us, and it was really just beautiful, the opening and the willingness to share. And she said, if I really ask myself about money, I do feel there's a sense of pressure. Like when I raise my hand to be paid, I don't want to disappoint anybody. And I also feel a lot of pressure. And if you feel pressure, if every dollar that comes in is a unit of pressure, why would you allow that into your life? You don't want pressure, right? And for some people, that's the story. When it comes to receiving, there is a lot that they feel they now have to give in exchange. And then there's another thought which comes up for a lot of people, which is it's codependency, but it's masked as I'm holding the other person's responsibility. I'm in charge of the other person's results. I'm in charge. I'm so powerful. It's all about me, including how this person experiences what is between us. Their perception is mine. Their experience is mine. Their reaction is mine. So I'm responsible for their experience. There's always going to be people who walk out of the same movie and say, that was amazing. And someone else says, that was shit. There's going to be people who walk out of the same restaurant and somebody goes, ugh, that was disgusting. And someone else is like, that's now my favorite restaurant. You just can't own what's not yours. So it's not up to you, right? Your job in this world is your best yes. And your job is also to remember who you are. You're not that impressive. And you have to stop flattering yourself, because it's God that's impressive. It's the infinite stream that's impressive. It's love that's impressive. It's light that's impressive. It's creativity. It's empathy. It's energy that's impressive. And that energy flows through us when we move out of the way, when we set down our burden of having this illusion that this separate self that we've created in our mind is going to somehow knock the ball out of Fenway. It's never going to happen. Every person who's ever done anything amazing allowed themselves to overcome themselves so that they could be a vehicle for an infinite light, for something actually jaw-dropping, which is just the energy of connectedness. The only thing other people are searching for is that oneness, is that connection to the infinite. It's a God-shaped hole. It's not your face. It's you get to be a catalyst for something so big. And we all have a capacity to bring that energy into the space. How do we do that? We set it all down. We set down all the scarcity. You stop playing to people's egos. You stop playing to all the things, and you just show up with power, with force that comes through you. It's not of you, but it comes through all of us, right? So that's really who we are, by the way. We really, at the core, we're an extension of that, right? So the credit we get is for being in alignment with the ultimate source of all power. So the more you really get this, you realize like, whoa, I'm just really sticky around money. So it's not coming. It's not going to change until that shifts. When you shift that energetically, it's going to come in a zillion ways. And remember, that's the only way it comes, right? Like you can have the best laid plans and you can try to do it that way where you're like, I'm in control and I'm going to predict it. I'm going to design it. And then you can basically co-sign that you're not available for it to come through the infinite, incredible, divine download. Like all the coolest things that happen just kind of catch you by surprise. I mean, yesterday was a surprise because my agent told me there's going to be something in Variety magazine. She told me that a week ago. And I thought, and she thought that there was going to be literally like a mention in Variety that I signed a very big podcast network deal. And that wasn't what happened at all. Instead, they reached out to Simon & Schuster, read the first like few chapters of my book, and wrote a whole thing on my book and Abundant Ever After and what I'm up to in the world. And then at the very end, it's like Cathy Heller signed a deal with AdLarge. She's hoping to expand her podcast audience. It was like the last sentence. And then in Variety, there's like a photo of me and all these things that like, I was never asked to comment. There was no interview. Like somebody just decided to focus on what they wanted to focus on. And it was a total surprise, all of it, what they wrote, how they decided to position it, how big of a deal they made out of it. I got calls yesterday from so many people, right? And I was just like, my whole day was a surprise. I woke up yesterday and sat down with Ralph Macchio and talked about The Karate Kid, because that's what his new book is about, and cried my face off. And then my agent's like, oh, you're in Variety. Oh, you should read this. And I was like, why do I ever want to predict it anyway? What a bore. Like, this is so much more fun, right? So it's a signal. It's a freaking radio station. Like, it's just going to be matchy to whatever's here. So I might have thought, like, in my mind, they're going to write something very concrete in 2 sentences at the back of the trades about something that I did, and it's going to be this big, right? And instead, maybe on some level, frequency wise, it was like, no, what you're doing is spiritual. It's about the book. It's about the content. It's about being abundant. It's about this. It's about overcoming what you've overcome. And I'm like, cool. Like, I never would have predicted that. Right. And so it's just crazy. Like, my whole life is a surprise. You know, we went to the Pentatonics last week, and then Sunday night, we're sitting there with Kevin Alusala from the Pentatonics having dinner. And he's like, we're talking about spirituality and we're talking about life. And his whole life is a surprise, you guys. He was pre-med at Yale, and the week of finals, the last week of finals, pre-med at Yale, he had just spent a year speaking Mandarin, living in China. Okay. He's African-American. His parents put him through Yale. He was graduating pre-med. He had a full scholarship to med school. And his roommate is like, you're such a good beatboxer. I'm going to put a video of you up on YouTube. And he was like, cool, man, fun, great. And it's literally 4 days before graduation. And he gets a call from Ben Bram, who happens to be a friend of mine, who's like, we're creating an a cappella group called the Pentatonics. We'd love you to audition. He was like, yeah, I'm graduating from Yale and I'm starting med school in 10 weeks. He's like, well, could you fly to LA? And it's just like just a thing maybe you might want to do. And so he did. And now they have toured the world over and over and over again. I can't even tell you the amount of talent that each one of them has. It's like, it's religious for me to watch them perform, but that's a total surprise, right? So you get to live inside of a 3D life that you can predict, that you can see, or you can be available for what's so much bigger and better and brighter and more exciting, right? And so you have to be willing to set down how scared you are, and you have to be willing to just shift the energy. It takes a second. It literally takes a second. You're like, whoa, hang on a minute. Where have I been playing? What's been my emotional habit? What's been my vibrational frequency? I've been playing in like, here's what I'm selling. Here's how scary it is. I don't know how much effort I can put in and how much salesy work I have to do. And how much am I trying to convince people? And it's just like, that is the wrong orientation. Like, you're not making money that way. No one ever has. That's why they feel so salesy, because they're like, here I come to try to convince you. And now I feel so pressured. And now this feels so bad. And how many more posts do I have to do? And it's like, that's never going to be the way that you are going to make money. It doesn't work. It's exhausting, right? You wouldn't want it to work that way anyway. What you want is to just show up in your life with a fireworks of energy. You want to start your day and be like, I feel freedom. I feel abundance. I feel sexy. I feel fierce. I feel powerful. I feel creative. And next thing you know, you're going to be dancing through your kitchen and you're going to be enjoying things. And then you're going to have this whisper of this idea, like, this would be cool. I'm going to talk to so-and-so. I don't know, maybe I should do this. And then they're going to perceive you as being like this live wire. They're going to be like, ugh, every time I hear you or get a text from you, I'm just so about it. Like, I'm just so about it. And you're going to be like, me too. I'm about it too. I'm not worried about it. Like, play that One Republic song all day. I ain't worried about it right now. Like, not worried about it. What is there to be worried about? We're here. We're breathing. We're alive. It's a fucking blast. Like, just enjoy it. Get creative. See this whole thing. Like, right now, you can't see it, but I can. The light is hitting the air, and you've all seen this in your life. So right now, because of the way the light is hitting the surface of the oxygen in this room, I can see all the molecules that are floating in this room, right? But normally you can't see that. And you're like, there's nothing in this space. It's just blank space. It's like, no, that's where all the good shit is. It's in all that space. It's in all that area. That's what you're playing with. You're playing literally, like, as I do this right now, all those little like dust particles are moving, right? And they take up mass. Like, there is matter to it, but it's mostly energy. But I can actually see it because of the way this skylight is hitting the room, right? Forget it. Get out of the 3D. There's nothing there for you. There's nothing good. All you want is to connect with your real power, right? When my friend Amy Purdy is like, yeah, so they said you cannot get on a snowboard. It's not doable. She said, just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean I cannot do it. And then she literally spent a year working with 8 engineers and being like, cool, we got the feet to stand in the snowboard, but we can't get them to bend in a way where I can jump. Let's do it again. Shit, now we've made feet that can jump, but those feet that can jump can't actually take this hill in this turn. Let's do it again. And then they did. And it was this awesome Rubik's Cube, which was made out of this. It was made out of the passion. It was made out of the imagination. And she said every day that went by, she just could close her eyes and she could feel the wind in her hair. She could feel it. She could see it, right? You don't want to make money by showing up and asking people to create offers with you. Like, you want to be fully charged. You want to live in this world like a live wire who's like, I'm available for all of the good stuff. And so you then show up that way. And next thing you know, people are like, I can't wait to work with you. And you can put things out there. You can test things. You can say, ooh, what do you think of this? Let's go. Let's do this together. But what are they buying? They're buying what the transmission is. They're buying how tapped in you are to reality itself. They don't want to buy a box. It's not interesting. It's not sexy. There's nothing in it. It's empty, right? But they can feel truth brings us home. So when you're connected to actual truth, you're connected. And that's why I say, like, read autobiographies of visionaries, read a book on Nelson Mandela, study Amy Purdy, watch her TED Talk, listen to Howard Schultz, read about it, like spend time around the people who built what they built with their divine return to their infinite potential, not because they played in a box, because there's nothing there. It's a crap show. There's nothing there. Like my kids hear me say it over and over again, like, you're not going to college. You're just not. So you're going to have to get excited about what you care about. And I want you playing with it now. Like I want you playing with riding horses, playing like Sunday, we had a chef come to the house because my daughter's so naturally inclined to want to be in the kitchen. I'm like, let's nurture that. Let's have you play in the kitchen. Like, let's work on that. Let's work on that now. Let's get excited about that now. Because come 16, what are you going to make? And then you're going to make something totally different when you're 26, and you're going to make something different when you're 45. And it just doesn't end. Like your creativity is just non-stop, right? The people who are truly creative, they don't just work in music, they also work in fashion, then they make their own vodka, then they produce their own movies, then they're building their own houses. Because once you turn on the faucet of creativity, it doesn't stop. This is how you make money, because you're a match for it. This is abundance. Your abundance is your creativity. Your creativity is in your joy. Your creativity can only be turned on. You can't create from lack. If a deer is in fight or flight, it's not in repair. There's nothing creative happening. It can't, right? It can't go into creation mode. It can't even create cells in its body, right? So when you're in fight or flight, you cannot create. Creativity is actually the hook into abundance. It's not about money first, it's creativity first. How do you get creative? You got to be in wholeness. If you're in doubt and lack and shame and worry, and you just keep playing there and you're like, I'm going to be honest with you, I play there every day, then there's nothing to talk about. We got to move that, right? Because once you're in a place where you start to feel jazzed and lit, you're going to get creative. Once your energy is creative, you'll be available for this out of the blue thing to hit you every single day. You'll be like, Kath, but it wasn't a one-to-one equation. I got creative, but then this thing happened, which was totally out of the blue. I'm like, no, but that's how it works, because you've just created an opening for it. So we are meant to be creating, right? And you want to create an opening. You want to create the ability for this to come in. You want to allow this in. So when you're sitting there, just check in with yourself, because it's very addictive on a physical level. You'll check in and you'll notice, she's right. Like mea culpa, like since actually it's been 11 days, I've been feeling like shit. How do you expect to make money in that place? You can't, right? You just can't. How do you expect to be creative? You physically cannot create when your body is in that level of stress and worry and concern and lack. And what that really is you've separated yourself from the creator. You've separated yourself from source, because you're worried because you're an ego. You're worried because you've decided that you're a wave separate from all these other waves. And now you're really worried. You forgot you're connected to the ocean. You got to move back into the ocean. And that's why I meditate every day. I meditate every morning and every night before I go to sleep. I go to sleep listening to a meditation every single night. You don't have time to do that? Of course you do. You lay your head on the pillow at some point, right? Put on a meditation, go to sleep. Don't you dare not do that. What are you doing? Your body is chemically against you, okay? Your body is not going to give you a vacuum. So it's either going to flood you with cortisol, because your mind wants to be stimulated, and your body has a job where it just goes back into the past. But if you get ahead of it, you're going to be able to give yourself dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. And not only that, you're going to just get to memorize, oh, this feels so much more better, more like myself. So twice a day, at least twice a day. And if you can't take it on for like a long period of time, do 5 minutes in the night and 5 minutes when you wake up, right? Sadhguru was just talking about, there's 4 levels of mind. There's your intellect, which most people think has all the answers. It's actually keeping you from the stream, but we pour into the intellect. That's what we do with kids. Memorize this, think this way, read this book, take this test, like intellect. Like that is literally the barrier. But that's number 1. The second level of mind is your memories. It's your memory bank. It's what's in there, and it repeats over and over and over again. The third level of your mind is your identity. Ooh, that's the most dangerous one. It's all the things that you tell yourself you are, which separate you from God. separate you from what you're really about, which is your consciousness. So your identity is like, I am a Floridian, a woman, a 40-year-old, a mother, a sister. It's like, yeah, right. Hold on to it. Yeah, hold on to that. You know what I mean? You are consciousness. You are a soul. You are electricity. You are the I am, right? That's what all meditation is trying to get you back to, the witness of it all. The witness, who you were when you were conceived. You weren't a mother yet. You weren't 40 yet. You weren't a Republican yet. You weren't a Democrat yet. You weren't this yet. You weren't that yet. That was already you. You were already there. What that is, that's you. Life force, energy, consciousness, right? So he says, those are the 3 levels. And the 4th level is who you really are, your soul, your consciousness. It's called chitta, right? So you're trying to get to that place of chitta, that level of mind. If you are playing in the levels of intellect, identity, and memory, there's no abundance in it. It doesn't contain abundance. It contains separation, ego, lack, and the predictable past. So if you live in that place, you will keep living from and to it over and over again. You've got to make one turn inside and move into this place. And as soon as you get to this place that's witnessing all of it, you can't help but feel equanimity, because that part of you is fucking good. Like that part of you is enjoying, is blissed out. That part of you, the default is forgiveness. The default is empathy. The default is creativity. The default, because it's so palpable, it's so powerful. That's all it is in its core. So when you play in that space, you go, oh my God, I can't wait to wake up every day, right? I'm excited. I'm out of the addiction. So we can sit here and we can talk about all of the offers, and then we can talk from a level of mind, looking at the mind, right? Or we can show up for our life. We can show up in alignment, and then work on your business, right? Then go build $1 billion empire. That's real easy to do, but it's a totally different orientation. Most of the time, the people that I'm speaking to as I move through life, their lights are off. There's no one home. It's like a walking iRobot movie. It's like Zombie Town. It's just like, here's egos upon egos. And of course, it's like, you're wrong, I'm right. Let's war against each other. Let me say it this way because you said it that way. And let me it's all sticky. It's just other sides of the same coin. It's sticky, 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 sticky. It's like, how about if we just move out of that conversation completely? Let's move over here, right? You want to have a protest? Get silent, sit on a mat, resonate. That's a great protest, right? Come from alignment, come from that place. That's powerful, right? So it's so cool. It's so exciting. When you start to play in this space, and you can probably feel it as we're speaking it out, you're going to say, it's uncanny. I just had 15 ideas I didn't have yesterday. I didn't have 5 seconds ago. Obviously, right? Now you're available. Now you're creative. So let's allow this in, right? Let's allow all of it in. Let's allow this level of freedom in. Let's allow this level of creativity in. And then you won't be able to help but be a match for abundance, because abundance is fully abundant. It's like taking your hand and your finger and rubbing it alongside of a Swarovski crystal glass. It's in wholeness. So you can't have a full abundance of creativity and love and compassion and not have an abundance of money. It goes together. It's not separation. Nothing will be separated. It'll only be oneness. It'll only be like all equal signs, right? It's not net neutral. It's not half-half. It's not this much potency and this much static. It's just net positive. So you won't be able to miss it, but you won't be worried about it because you will already be there. It's already done. You're already feeling the feeling of being in abundance. The reason we keep focusing on money and having it and not having it is because we actually want all the things I just talked about. That's why you want it. But if you jump into it head first, when you wake up every morning, when you go to sleep every night, it follows you, and then you don't even think about it. Then you don't even notice it. It's just part of it. And it's not that important, really. This other stuff is way more important. Cultivating creativity, cultivating this in children, cultivating this in your life, being a stand for this so that other people start to wake up.